Welcome to a new daily top AskReddit video. Today's topic:
what is something the United States of America does better than any other country? I was born in Europe and moved to the USA as a young teen. The US gets assimilation really well, like you become part of some group fairly quickly and there are many to pick from. In Europe we had 2 boys in school, one from the US and one from India. Those kids got picked on for years and years. They never ever were going to be considered to be one of us. And never will. The US has this thing where if you play a sport and win as a team, or get through something difficult together like a math competition or a science lab, or play in a band that sounded good, suddenly you are one of everyone else. I had never experienced that before. It felt good. The USA is an ongoing team project. They don't call it the Great American Experiment for nothing. Absolutely this. My grandparents were destitute Asian immigrants on one side, and the other side had a land grant from the King of England dated 1642. My parents met, married, and had us kids. We are considered 100% American. Nobody questions our parentage, our heritage, our cultural background. My little southern town has Greek festival, a Filipino food truck that is the absolute best, pizzerias and soul food joints, and they all serve French fries. We casually assimilate everything and make it work. This is why I don't understand all of the hate that I see portrayed in media, and the people that let it into their hearts. Being American was always about accepting each other, and trying to build a world together no matter where you come from. Or maybe I do understand it, and I just wish that I didn't. I want to love my neighbors, and I generally do. I have a hard time loving neighbors who hate their neighbors though. Edit, just because I'm tired of people telling me I don't know history, I figured I'd clarify that this is the sentiment I had growing up. I am aware that we have some horrible things in our past. But growing up here, we look back on those things with shame. I was always under the impression growing up that we all wanted to make a better world, together. Thanks to one of our more badass presidents, Teddy Roosevelt, our national park system is the gift that keeps on giving. 7.2k upvotes, this is AMAZING. Thank you everyone! 100%. I'm an immigrant from Brazil, and one of the things that always amazes me to no end is the lengths the US has gone through to make its natural beauty accessible to regular folk. Brazil has incredible natural beauty, but 99% of it is completely inaccessible to the public. There aren't even roads to get there. The few parks that the public can get go are only accessible by hiring professional tour groups to take you there. It's really sad. To be fair, your wildlife is also pretty dangerous, lol. I've heard from others our air conditioning is top-notch. As an American, I guess I take this for granted. I didn't know that AC isn't the same all over the world. What makes American air conditioning top-notch? Aircon isn't standard in most of Europe outside of hotels and businesses. Even then it's often pretty poorly maintained. National parks, the 30-year fixed-rate mortgage. Reading about Canada's fixed rate made me so thankful I'm in the US. I don't even want to look at mortgages in other countries. Spoiler alert for those who don't know, it's fixed but like changes every few years based on the bank's rates, lol. Hollywood movies. American blockbuster movies are popular all around the world. No other countries produces movies of the same degree of spectacle and quality. Entertainment and culture are our biggest exports. And then everyone thinks we have no culture because that's what they see in movies, haha. Disability protections and accommodations. The ADA is the world's golden standard and it's not even remotely close. As a disabled vet, I feel pretty fucking lucky to have the medical care and income that I do. The VA isn't always the fastest, but they have really stepped up the game on helping with mental health and substance abuse. I'd be dead right now if it wasn't for some good psychiatrists and social workers getting me into rehab. I know other countries take care of their vets, but not all of them do. It isn't a perfect system, but in a country where healthcare can be expensive, it's a godsend for me. Editor ad, just want to clarify, I did relapse very recently and I'm waiting to get into rehab again. I'm not perfect, and sobriety isn't perfection. It's progress. It hasn't been a fun few weeks. But again, if it wasn't for the VA resources and the amount of employees who work there that check on me, I would have been done for long ago. This should be way higher. It is pitiful how poorly accessible many countries in even Europe are compared to the United States. What are you talking about? European disabled people are totally capable of wheeling their wheelchair upstairs, even stairs that are skinnier than the chair. We have the most Olympic medals. So, Olympicing. No. This doesn't do it justice. The US has 1061 gold medals at the Summer Olympics alone. Out of all countries on this planet right now, Great Britain has the second most all-time medals at 950. The US has over 100 more gold medals than any country has gold, silver, and bronze, at both the Summer and Winter Olympics combined. We're the best at being fat and the best at being fit. Biceps hamburger fries. US outlying islands. US has training facilities too. The medalists for the other countries are using our coaches and locations. You also see a ton of other countries' Olympians getting US citizenship and then participating with the US. Every Olympics you hear about it. Build aircraft carriers. The US built 151 aircraft carriers during World War II. 151. That was just aircraft carriers. The sheer military production during World War II was insane. During the height of WW2, the US was building a brand new B-24 bomber every 63 minutes. The enemy could shoot down 12 bombers during a bombing run, and the next day not only would those 12 bombers have been replaced, but another 12 would be there to join them. Fun fact: aircraft carriers are generally too short for jets to actually make unassisted takeoffs from them. To compensate, other nations just build ramps at the end to increase upward motion and generate more lift. The US doesn't do this. The US instead attaches their jets' landing gear to catapult rails that rocket the jets off the runway to generate lift through increased forward movement. General Atomics is developing a new electromagnetic rail system to launch the catapults for the Navy. It's essentially a rail gun built into the runway to launch jets. You said developing, but the EMALS system is already on the USS Gerald R. Ford and has over 10K launches and recoveries as of June 2022. Huge advantage to that method as well. US carrier-based fighters launch with the same fuel, armament load as they would from an airstrip on land. Clear-jump carrier fighters suffer significant drawbacks to takeoff weight that catapult-launched fighters don't. Logistics. Holy fucking shit, do we do logistics well? Name your item, your point A and point B somewhere on Earth, and the United States could get it done in a day if it was so inclined. When it comes to logistics, the US military alone is the single greatest organization that has ever existed in human history. Our civilian world isn't far behind. Our freight rail is as good as our passenger rail is bad. Use the last of the coffee this morning. Amazon will have a fresh batch at your doorstep before you get back from work. The US having an ice cream ship floating around in the Pacific during World War II is the biggest logistical flex ever. The Navy had one, the Army had 3 more. https://en.m.wikipedia.org/wiki/ice_cream_barge. My favorite aspect of this is the Japanese prisoner who realized because we had the resources for an ice cream ship that they could never beat us. I was a logistics specialist in the Army. To understand the capability of the US Army Logistics Corps, you need to understand this a few things. In the beginning of OEF, Afghanistan for you young'uns, we were seriously undergeared in the vehicular armor department. Driving around in government-issued HMMWVs and LMTVs with minimal armor. The first few days saw a crazy amount of vehicles go down to RPGs, IEDs and low-impact munitions. Within days, the US Army sent out an insane amount of armored vehicles to Afghanistan as well as recovery vehicles and repair parts to keep their military protected, not all, as I still saw a few leatherbacks during deployment, and the enemy having to keep innovating new ways just to get past said armor. Days. The US logistics alone kept the US military afloat over there. This former infantry guy loves you logistics nerds. Nothing, and I mean nothing, happens without you guys, especially early on. No POG, REMF chatter from me. Term of endearment. Cultural imperialism, soft power. Heard a quote once, I love it. China has Kung Fu. China has pandas. China is unable to create Kung Fu Panda. I heard a point about Kung Fu Panda and how the US was able to make a great movie about Chinese culture better than the Chinese movie industry in large part because American characters can be shown to be vulnerable and fallible. This is in contrast with Chinese media characters who are supposedly shown to always be good role models and almost infallible, as this would be disrespectful. This difference is what gives American characters more depth and allows us to have better stories than many countries. Not sure how accurate this is, but thought it was an interesting point. To be fair to China, and you can check it out on Too American for You, their propaganda about how damned op the US military is amazing. Like, it is so unbelievably based, watching it gives me a freedom boner. China is better at pro-American propaganda than we are. Cybersecurity. I just recently learned that the United States of America is the top gold standard in all things cybersecurity. I was actually a little surprised. Entertainment. Americans love to be entertained. We spend more money on entertainment than anybody anywhere. That's all kinds of entertainment, from movies, music concerts, amusement parks, and even smaller forms of entertainment like movie theaters, bars and nightclubs, bowling alleys, laser tag, and even food videos. People don't realize that the NSA could dumpster every other cybersecurity agency on the planet, all combined. Strategically, it doesn't, because every time NSA moves, watchers learn a little more about what capabilities it has, and potentially what vulnerabilities it has. That's why countries like Russia and China try to have their own independent internet capabilities, because they're afraid NSA will just turn their internet off one day, like a planet-wide EMP. Or worse, that they have backdoors into everything. The job isn't really to stop terrorists or ransomware or etc., it's a nuclear equivalent deterrent to cyber WW3. The #1 employer of mathematicians in the world is the NSA.